What if the thing blocking your healing, your abundance, your relationships, or manifestations isn't bad luck, but your expectations? What if your mind has been quietly creating the very reality you're trying to escape? Welcome to Dear Curious Soul. I'm Dashanka, and today we're getting curious about something both fascinating and deeply important for our healing or growth journey: the nocebo effect. Most of us have heard of the placebo effect, but its shadow twin, the nocebo, is the real game changer. It shows us just how powerful the mind is, not only in healing the body, but unfortunately in harming it too. I've already covered how powerful our words can be in a previous episode, The Magic of Your Words, spells you cast every single day. So check that out if you haven't already. Let's start with the placebo. A placebo is a medicine or procedure prescribed for the psychological benefit of the patient, rather than for any physiological effect. The Latin meaning of the word is literally "I will please." And the placebo effect is living proof that the mind can heal the body. There's a remarkable project called the Spontaneous Remission Project by the Institute of Noetic Sciences. It's a database of real documented cases where people have healed from illnesses that were considered incurable, including stage 4 cancers that disappeared without any treatment. What this project shows us is profound. There may be no such thing as an incurable illness. The body has an innate self-repair mechanism, but it only switches on when we are in a relaxed, safe state, not in fight or flight. This is the power of belief, and this is the power of the mind-body connection. Now, let's get curious about the nocebo effect. The term nocebo literally means "I will harm," and it describes a negative effect on someone's health caused by purely negative expectations or beliefs. Where the placebo heals, the nocebo harms. There's a very interesting TED Talk clip by Lisa Rankin, MD, and that's where I first heard about the Spontaneous Remission Project. I'll link it out in the show notes. Lisa Rankin explains the nocebo effect in a way that really blew me away the first time I watched it. She tells a story that has honestly stayed with me. 3 baby girls were born on Friday the 13th. The midwife declared that all 3 of them were hexed and predicted exactly what age each girl would be when she died. And tragically, before each of their predicted birthdays, they passed away. Now, logically, this shouldn't happen, but it speaks to how powerful influence, suggestion, expectation, and belief can be, especially when it's delivered by someone of authority. And this is what I think is the saddest part. Medical studies have known about the placebo and nocebo effect since at least the 1950s, maybe even earlier. Yet modern medicine's default is still unnecessary drugs or invasive procedures, instead of exploring the body's innate healing capabilities first. The nocebo effect shows us that thoughts, beliefs, and outside influences can have a massive impact on our health, our well-being, and ultimately our lives. When the mind believes something bad is going to happen, the body can actually manifest it. Your expectations can truly shape your outcomes. This isn't just rare or extreme cases. Here are some just everyday examples of how the nocebo effect affects us. A doctor warns you about a possible side effect and you develop it. A person believes a food will make them bloated, and their digestive system reacts as if the food is an actual threat. Someone expects pain to get worse, and the brain amplifies the pain signals. These aren't just thoughts. The brain is triggering real physiological responses by increasing cortisol, inflammation, muscle tension, digestive changes, and immune suppression. The body reacts as if the belief is a physical reality. The nocebo effect keeps us stuck by training the brain and the nervous system to expect the worst. And once the brain expects something, it becomes incredibly good at finding evidence for it. So our lives become a loop. Expectation then leads to a stress response, which leads to a physical reaction, which leads to confirmation, and then repeat. This shows up as a fear of trying new things, chronic worry, feeling doomed or unlucky, repeating patterns, self sabotage, feeling overwhelmed by small problems, staying in relationships, jobs, or situations that drain you. And it's not because you're flawed, it's because your nervous system is acting like a guardian that sees danger everywhere. And that keeps you stuck in old stories, old identities, old emotional patterns. And then there's another layer. The nocebo effect can become generational. You might have heard of phrases like generational curses. And while that language can feel really heavy, it really just points to generational expectation, generational fear, generational nervous system patterns. We inherit more than just our parents' DNA. We often inherit their beliefs, their fears, their coping mechanisms, and even their survival responses. A parent who believes life is hard, our family always struggles, nothing ever goes right for us, happiness doesn't last, can unintentionally pass that worldview on. And we as children absorb it, not through words, but through energy, tone, and emotional signaling. This is the generational nocebo effect, a passed down expectation of harm, struggle, or limitation. But there's good news. Once you see the pattern, you can interrupt it. Can you think of some loops that are active for you? Is there a belief that you keep replaying? A fear that feels familiar? A pattern that keeps showing up? Maybe it sounds like, I always get sick. I can't trust people. Things never work out for me. I'm not good enough. Something bad will happen. These loops aren't flaws. They're learnt expectations, and expectations can be rewritten. So, how do we manage expectations? This is something that I really struggle with and something that I'm always working on. Whether it's expectations of ourselves or of other people or of how, I guess, life is supposed to look. Expectations can create so much pressure. And a lot of the time, we don't even realize we're carrying them. Here's what I'm learning about expectations. First, expectations are actually assumptions. We expect certain behaviors, certain outcomes, certain timelines, but many of these expectations aren't based on reality. They're based on past experiences, fear, or old stories that we haven't updated yet. Maybe anxieties we may have. A beautiful question to ask is this expectation based on evidence or is it based on fear or habit? Once you name it, the nervous system immediately softens. And here's something important. Managing expectations isn't just a mental process, it's a body process. Check out my previous episode on embodiment, which delves into this deeper. Expectations live in the body as tension, a tight chest, a clenched jaw, a shallow breath. So before you try to mentally fix your expectations, try regulating your body first. A slow nasal breath or placing your hand on your heart can shift you from pressure into presence. Another huge part of managing expectations is letting go of the fantasy of control. Yes, fellow control freaks, I'm talking to you. We think we can control outcomes, people, timelines, but control is an illusion. What we can control is how we show up, the effort we give, the boundaries we set, and the energy we choose to hold, not the outcome itself. One of the most powerful shifts is replacing expectations with intentions. Expectations are rigid and they demand a specific result. Intentions are expansive. They focus on how you want to feel and how you want to show up. That's the difference between this must happen and I'm open and I trust the process. And then there's curiosity, my favorite word. It might sound simple, but it is such a powerful nervous system regulator. When you're curious, you stop predicting the worst or clinging to perfection. You move into a state of openness. Try saying, let's see what happens, or I'm open to being surprised. This takes you out of survival mode and into possibility. And another big one, release the timeline. Most disappointment doesn't come from what we want, but from when we expect it to unfold. When you soften the timeline, you release so much pressure. You can still desire the outcome. You're just not forcing it to arrive on your schedule. Divine timing is always at play. We all know that with relationships, communication is huge, but we often expect people to know what we need without ever saying it out loud. Unspoken expectations are one of the biggest sources of disappointment. Clarity is kindness for you and for them. And underneath all of this is self trust. When you trust yourself, expectations lose their heaviness. You know that whatever happens, whatever the outcome, you will be able to meet it, respond to it, grow from it. Everything will be okay. You will be okay. Managing expectations doesn't mean shrinking your dreams or lowering your standards. It simply means holding them gently enough that you don't suffocate your joy. So maybe ask yourself, what expectations am I carrying that feel heavy? Where can I soften? Where can I trade pressure for presence? When you start managing your expectations in this way, you create space for life to surprise you again. Now let's get curious about manifesting and the nocebo effect. The nocebo effect is kind of like manifesting, but in the wrong direction. It's when we say we want something amazing, love, success, healing, abundance, but deep down we don't actually expect to receive it. And that expectation matters. Because if your nervous system is bracing for disappointment, rejection, or this never works out for me, you'll subtly act from that place. You might hesitate, downplay opportunities, overthink, or unconsciously push things away. So even if something beautiful is trying to unfold, your body is preparing for loss instead of receiving. That's where the nocebo effect comes in. It quietly overrides your conscious desires with unconscious doubt. It's not that you can't manifest something incredible, it's that you may not feel safe enough to expect it. And expectation is powerful. The nocebo effect is powerful, yes. But awareness is even more powerful. Once you understand how expectation shapes your physical reality, your emotional reality, and even your generational patterns, you can start choosing differently. You can soften your thoughts. You can calm your nervous system. You can pause before assuming the worst. You can open the door to possibility instead of prediction. And every time you do that, your body listens, your mind shifts, your future changes, and your lineage shifts too. So remember, you don't manifest what you want, you manifest what you expect. Thank you for listening with an open mind, a kind heart, and your dear, curious soul. And if you would like to support the podcast, please consider sharing this episode with someone who feels like the right person. It may be exactly what they need to hear at this moment on their path. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the whispers of your soul.